So I'm a alumni of the Urban Shift program. Uh, Quite involved, I guess, over the last 3, 4 years in the entrepreneurship scene, especially coming in from the impact side of things. Yeah, something I'm quite passionate about. So currently, I'm the co-founder and CEO at a venture called Energy Track, working on energy efficiency. And a bit more about me. I guess you can all see the screen, right? Just to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
Um, yeah, a bit more about me. Like my background is in terms of mechatronics engineering, and then it was through my MBA that I looked at more into the topics of sustainable management and governance. My background's a bit more into project management and entrepreneurship, as I mentioned, and a lot of my motivations are around this combination of finding economic success plus doing something good for the world. I think this is something that's obviously a huge topic nowadays and something that's extremely motivating for many, and combining this can be quite hard. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of us are here. And also this topic of new work, where designing a working place that is actually um, working for us as people rather than the other way around. This is also something that I see is very important. And maybe just going back to the agenda. So what I had today on my side, I think I have about 20 minutes, and then there's a bit of time for any exchange. Um, yeah, a bit of context for where I'm sitting and the experiences I've been through, so you know where a lot of the stuff I'm saying is coming from. Then we've got an intro into the couple of projects and how they occurred. Firstly, from the Urban Shift program, which is about as Luca was mentioning, about green skills, about young people working on big problems, and then on about Energy Track, which is the startup that I'm currently working on, and they're both impact-driven projects. Then at the end, I heard that there's a lot of interest in younger talent and what people are wanting and what they're motivated by, especially in this overlap to sustainability. And so I'm just sharing my subjective view. I'm obviously learning through experience, but we're working with many different student projects. I've been working through many different incubators, accelerators, interacting with people, typically between the age of, I'd say, 20 to 35, um, tackling these innovative green topics. So just a few points from my point of view, and if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or take note. And there's time at the end if there's any open discussion. Um, so today, maybe I'll just minimize this a bit. Um, I just wanted to show this context of where I'm talking from. So the things that I'll be focusing on are Urban Shift and our startup venture that we created there. So Breeze, actually it had a second name, Climatile. You'll see why. And also Energy Track. So these projects we worked on, these will be the focuses. But actually, when it comes to this entrepreneurial journey and a lot of the inputs that I've had from especially yeah, working with a lot of young talent. I guess there's this topic of the communities. So these are typically the entry points that a lot of the people I've interacted with have had into these innovative um, scenes. So these are typically co-working spaces or communities built through regular meetings where there's a lot of like-minded individuals building on this innovation.
Hallo, ich bin nämlich in einem Call. Kannst du?
Then there is the places where ideas become something more than that. So there's a lot of these first incubators that I've added, like Social Impact Award, Entrepreneurship Avenue, First Incubator, Urban Shift is one of these, where we're putting, we're finding people that then all want to work on a bigger idea, and we're taking this idea from something that's just thought out on paper to actually something that's tangible that can work and do something. And this is where there's a lot of networking as well with this coaching and experts, as we've heard in the round, an amazing level of support. Then there's the topic of funding organizations, and these are the groups that are supporting new ideas, but also many businesses in terms of the innovative projects that they want to implement, especially if there's some sort of impact. So I know the ones I've put here actually every single one of them. So FFG, the KPC, the Credit Public Consulting, Austrian Wirtschaftsservice, and Vienna Business Agency, probably also for many other different regional business agencies. There's many different projects that support this green innovation and kicking off a project. And then at least for startups, there's this topic of accelerators and partners, which we're now experiencing more. Currently, we're, for example, involved in this energy accelerator called Axel, actually working out of Karlsruhe. But yeah, this is where then the ideas, when they need to scale, there's a bit more market connection, industry connection, and then money involved to bring that to a bigger stage. Now, the next part, I'm just going to go into the couple of projects that we had, and the framework they worked in, the outcome, and then some of the learnings. So with Urban Shift, this is where Breeze came to life. Within the Urban Shift program, we had 6 months. It was, as I mentioned, from idea to prototype. And the focus was on, they put, frankly, they were huge climate crisis problems that we had to tackle. The problems were so big. We had urban heat islands. The problems were so big that it was almost hard at the start to grasp how to even start tackling it. And the solutions we had to come up with were really just small pieces to the problem that had to be put together. And the very interesting thing I think about Urban Shift was that we were a mainly student-based team. So 5 out of 6 of the team members were still studying. It was very multidisciplinary. So we had architects in the team. We had people that focused on content and design. We had business students. So it was a great mix. And we had engineers. And it was international. So working cross-border remotely for the majority of the project. So this combination was very interesting. I hadn't used it before. And to jump into what it was, with Breeze, we were creating passive cooling tiles. So the problem we found was that with urban heat islands, cities were becoming far too hot. They were sucking up a lot of heat and staying hot, and we needed to find a way to cool them down. So the solution we came up with was a form of clay tile that was placed on the external side of the building. Actually, I'll make this all larger for everyone. That was placed on the external part of the building, and the technology behind it was as these clay tiles, they were 3D printed, and they had channels running through it, so hollow channels. And we allowed water to flow through this. And because they are ceramic, they actually are porous and they suck up the water, and then they have this evaporative cooling effect, which allows the water to, evaporate. And this results in a cooling mechanism. As a result, so this is from front on, you can see the channels where the water will flow through. From the side, this is now where we place this as an external second layer to a wall. And this creates a heat shield from heat that's coming through this evaporative cooling technique. And as a result, we have about a 3 to 10 degree difference from the outside to the inside. It was an extremely fun project because actually we got to play a lot in the lab. This is where some of the skills that, our team in the university could really shine, especially in terms of prototyping, building, from the Advanced Architecture University. And in the background, I guess us on more the business and design side, we were on our computers doing the planning, doing the pricing, doing the marketing, sales, and topics like this. In the end, the prototype that we presented, you can see here, so I'll just zoom in. So they were clay tiles, as mentioned, about 4 centimeters thick. You can see how water can flow. The idea was that they could be stacked on each other and then water would flow through them and evaporate. Yes, so that was the first project. And of course, there's then in the background, the competitor analysis, seeing where we fit in the market. Yes. So that's a bit about the project. Now, I know I think for much of the audience here, the things that you'd like to take out is kind of what made this exciting, or what were the toughest things that we had to deal with, especially working in a student team with tackling this topic. And maybe these are the points that can be thought about, what can be brought in that can overcome the challenges that we faced as to why, in this case, it didn't work, or what could be more motivating for the team. So in terms of the challenges we faced, the first one was when building the screen product through our manufacturing process of 3D printing, we found that it was an extremely expensive process. And so as a result, we had a product that was about two and a half times the market rate of another premium product. And this couldn't really work. This was very interesting because as we looked at the topic of sustainability, it was actually a different value to many of our different stakeholders. So while we were, of course, in our incubator phase and talking with a lot of funding organizations and topics like this, as soon as we could pitch this idea of having the sustainable product, there was a lot of people on board. But as many people here know, as we bring it into the industry and as we look to scale it and we look at the pricing and put all the numbers in an Excel sheet and analyze it, when we start talking to investors and customers, this is where we hit a bit of a wall. So this was one of the first challenges. The second challenge was that I guess this style of working, so this was on top of everything else. We were working very flexibly, very remotely. On this impact topic, we were putting in a lot of hours. It was a lot of driven by passion and self-motivation, and we had to work quite independently. And I know from our team of 6, 4 of us were quite highly motivated by this, but 2 of us were not. Yeah. So we had 2 people that quite quickly said, "Look, this isn't for us. It's not really what we want to keep working on. We want to do the better. We have other focuses in our life at the moment." So I think even the message here is that even working on these innovative, exciting, sustainable topics, it's still, you're not going to capture everyone with this, but 4 from 6, actually, we were still very highly motivated. So it is still a very good thing to have. The final point is that life gets in the way. So I think as well, it was very interesting to see how working with this majority, 5 from 6 team that were still studying, and even the person that wasn't studying, actually all of us then had major plans in the next 6 to 12 months that didn't align with building this. So there and because everyone was so at the beginning of their journey and their career, these plans that they had actually had a lot more weight. They wanted to find a very solid job and start building on the career, or they wanted to travel overseas and experience something new. So there was a lot of, we still actually wanted to build this startup, and we probably would have if this economic problem or challenge wasn't so big. But there was a huge level of flexibility and empathy required to actually accommodate the needs of everyone in the team that were there to have a chance of building it together. So I think that's the challenge that we had to overcome. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, but moving on to the second project. So now Energy Track, and please remember, if you have any points or thoughts that you want to share, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So Energy Track is the venture that I'm currently working in, and we founded this at the end of last year, actually. So it's new in some ways, but I've been working on it for over 2 years. It started out of a hackathon, and out of a entrepreneurship leadership program. Again, entrepreneurship program that's typically, I would say, 18 to 35-year-olds that are looking to network and build something new. It's had 100,000 euro invested, and this is between the state and self-funded. And the difference here is that the team was actually mostly young professionals. So most of us had at least 3 years of experience in the industry, some up to 10. And a lot of us were then they were either working outside of their main jobs or actually motivated to change into this role, even though it was less stable, even though it was not well paid and these things, a lot for what we were doing. So a quick introduction to the project. Energy Track exists to reduce energy waste for a better world. So we're focusing specifically on electricity waste, specifically with SMEs, small and medium enterprises. And we're solving a approximate 3,500 euro per year problem. So this is for a two-story office building. This is the size of the problem. We're seeing regularly that many businesses and office spaces and commercial spaces are using the majority of their electricity outside of their operational hours. And the reason this is happening is because the current solutions around managing energy for a business, they're not that great. There's some really good ones for industry level, for much larger corporation, much larger production, and there's some solutions for households, but not really for the small and medium enterprise level. And for that reason, we're seeing over 90% of the businesses we talk to managing their energy with their bills. And even if they can understand these bills, because some of them can be quite hard to digest, then there's no clear action on how they reduce their energy waste. So this is where we come in. Our solution has 3 steps. Firstly, data acquisition. We either install hardware on site or we get the smart meter data. We've built then our backend to manage the data and analyze it. And then the user gets a dashboard where they can see not only their usage, but other tools and widgets like their impact, so their CO2 savings, how they're trending through a health score, and other forecasting tools, etc. That would typically happen in an energy audit, but we're automating that. We're also doing some machine learning, and this is quite an exciting topic that I guess draws the most interest from us, which is called non-intrusive load monitoring. This is where without going too into detail, we're producing this graph on the right-hand side, which is a breakdown of how consumption's happening without installing all the sensors needed for it by doing pattern recognition of the machine learning of the usage on site. Yes, this is like some of the widgets that we create, but I don't want to go into too much detail. And then, of course, we have a team behind it. As I mentioned, we're between 2 to 10 years experience across the team. So that's an intro to Energy Track. And now just to share the challenges and learnings around that. So firstly, on the product and business side, and I'm sure I'm sharing something that many have experienced as well, but the biggest challenge was actually forcing ourselves to start with a problem instead of a solution. Because otherwise we were just building something that we thought was good and not the market. And I think this is the term called product market fit in entrepreneurship. I think it's the difference that turns a project, which a lot of us work on at the early entrepreneurship phase, into a business, because then it's the difference between working on something interesting and having a customer come to your door and say, you will solve our problem with what you're doing and we'll pay for it. The second challenge was, well, not really a challenge, but a learning, was that in, I would say, 1/3 to half of the interviews we had with a lot of the people we worked with, this phrase kept coming up, to be a large cog in a small machine instead of a small cog in a large machine. And I think one of the things that really drove a lot of our team and brought them to us was the fact that they could take significant action and have some sort of immediate effect. This was very clear, especially when we look back at our current solution, our current team, how we behave with each other. We can actually pick out points where specific team members have said something or done something or set something up to make us start working this way. And so I think this can also be represented in larger businesses by being able to have the significant effect on your immediate environment. And finally, there was this work-life balance. So I mentioned this a bit with the student phase with our previous project, but also with Energy Track with the young professionals working between again to 25 to 40 in this case. Um, their lives are so dynamic. They're looking at traveling, they're having all of these relationships ranging from whatever serious to not. Um, they've got many of their own goals, and they're going through these years of their life where they need to build them and accommodating that. And with our startup, with our venture energy track, of course, to build it, it needs so much energy, so much power, and so much motivation behind it that ideally it should be in the first place priority of many of our team. However, there was definitely this topic of needing to balance this with work-life balance, because actually we found when we pushed that too hard, it really was quite unattractive for many people. And in the end, what was more effective in terms of binding everyone together and working on this big topic was to have this flexibility to create these work environments that could accommodate them, and then um, include them in everything going on and give them a say so that they carry it with us in that sense. So they're not just part of a team and they're working in this spot, but actually they're building it with us. And that way they could still be motivated around all of the things that they were doing. Okay. So the last part of the topics I had to have, which it was just my takeaways in terms of my last 5 years of entrepreneurship, what how to create this sort of strong business, combining that with having a positive impact and having a skilled, motivated team to work on that. So what we're focusing on in Energy Track, we still have a small team, but what I'm really focusing on to build within our culture is firstly having this framework, this environment that they can build in, which is stable and enables them to act independently. So for me, this means that I'm creating clear budgets, clear spending, where they have ownership over um, what they can do. I'm creating tools. I'm bringing a lot of like video recording tools that we can send each other video message that with AI are automatically generating the transcripts. We're using a lot of certain project management tools that have a lot of automation. So what this enables is a lot of asynchronous tasks, meaning we can work as a team, but we don't have to be online at the same time to do this. Um, Enabling flexible work. We all know remote work and working from yeah, wherever they are. So including this. And then in each of our weekly team meetings, also having a very holistic reporting level, which shows everything going on in the company, especially at a high level, on a weekly basis, so they really get in the flow of what's moving. The second thing that I'm focusing on is making sure that we are an impact first company. This is not only as a company, we do some level of ESG reporting that we need to do, even if though we're small. So we're doing that because we want to. And then we're also ensuring that our service and product is creating real impact, because there's a lot of also greenwashing going on. So we're just making sure that we have measures and we have KPIs that say how much impact we are really creating. This is both for external and internal messaging. It's some of the first questions that we ask when we have interviews with people, why what they find interesting about energy consumption. We're doing this by reaching out to many networks and partners. You saw all the logos on the first pages. This is a lot of outreach and a lot of work, but this is where we get a lot of our inspiration and share with like-minded individuals about what we're doing. And um, yeah, that's focusing on this clear impact. And finally, we're making like for me, it's very important that there's a very personal level within our company. I think this is something that's also very appreciated. Of course, we have our once a month catch-ups and our quarterly one-on-ones to go a bit deeper. But at least for me, there's when it comes to working on something with passion and working on something with impact, the line between work and personal life, it gets a bit more grayed out and overlapping. And for that reason, it's more important to talk about the reasons that people are working there, the values they have, and what they prioritize, not only at work, but actually what they're prioritizing in their life, where they want to go, and then trying to align these things. And having some level of acceptance, because it's not that all of our team is not 100% there just for the business. They've got their own personal goals and needing to accept this and work around it. And ultimately, then everyone can be empowered. Our company can empower them to where they want to go. Finally, I think this topic of student projects, we run 3 to 4 student projects per year, meaning that we're working with Uniforce, student consulting, or 180 Degrees, which is also a student consultancy. We're doing an exchange program with the University of Illinois, where there's interns that come and work with us. I think this constant student project contact is also something where at least for me, I'm still learning a lot of where the current university students are at, what they're thinking, and how they're building and how they think. So this is a really great way to keep in touch with this group of people.